What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. My name is Ellery, and today I'm back with a new video that I want to check out with you guys. This is called The Ultimate Man in Women's Sports Debate. Hey. Guys, you know how we do to talk less and we react more. Let's check this out.
You put a lot of focus on Leah Thomas and that whole situation. However, what about all of the other trans athletes that don't make it to the top? Because I unfortunately don't have a list of every trans athlete known to man. I didn't fully prepare, but what about all of the, because Leah Thomas is one case out of many. So what about the other trans athletes that have transitioned and do participate in sports, but don't make it to the top and are middle of the pack?
Well, they're still beating other women, aren't they? They're taking somebody's spot, right?
Well, no,
But
they
it's
are
not-
women.
Okay,
They have
so,
transitioned.
so let's ask a question. So thank you for being here and the courage for talking. First of
course.
all, what is a woman? Let's start there.
Well, as she said, anyone who identifies as such, and traditionally it would be gender dysphoria. That is a legitimate medical condition. So if you have gender dysphoria, yes.
Okay, so
Wow.
that's interesting.
That's really
your
interesting.
personal definition of what a woman is. Why should society adopt that definition?
Yes,
therefore
exactly.
disenfranchising chromosomal born women.
Really, it's out of respect for those that have the condition.
Got it. So we should elevate the people with the mental condition over half the population.
No. Not at all. I'm just saying that we should just simply, because it's not a battle between I'm elevating this person over another person. It's merely out of respect for that person, for them to feel comfortable and to participate in the sport of,
Got it.
their
So-
gender that they identify
Okay,
as.
so feeling comfortable. So giving people what they want is not always the right thing. Okay? So let me give you an example. We do not give liposuction to people with anorexia. People with anorexia would want liposuction. It would kill them. We know better than that. So just giving people what they want is not always
Doesn't
the
mean
right
it's
thing.
right,
So
yeah.
you say to make people comfortable. We could probably agree. I don't want people to be uncomfortable. But then you have the choice to make. What if all of a sudden you're making half the population uncomfortable and the sport itself is all of a sudden being destroyed and standards as we know it are completely destroyed? So let me ask you a question. If someone, and I don't want to assume your gender, you could tell me whatever it is dealing with that situation, why don't they continue to compete as that new gender with the people with their chromosomes that they share?
Because they don't identify as such. And I actually, I'm really glad you brought up the example with I'm sorry, could I steer the conversation back towards what you said about comfort?
But let me ask you another question. So how people identify matters a lot to you, right?
Yes,
Correct?
of course.
Okay. So should we allow adults who identify as toddlers compete in preschool soccer?
Now that's funny.
No.
Why?
Why? Then
identify
that's
as a
toddlers.
child. We want them to be comfortable.
No, because that's not a legitimate mental.
It
that's not a
absolutely
legitimate
is.
condition.
No. That's a real thing. Having people think that they're in a different body is a real thing. People think that they're dogs. People think that they're cats. And some people think they're children still. They never grow out of it. It's a legitimate mental condition. So shouldn't we accommodate fully grown 50-year-old men who want to play t-ball?
Well, no, because they require a different treatment plan. And this is what I wanted to steer back to.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
I wanted to steer back towards what we talked about with comfort. It is shown, and this is legitimate, those who transition and are treated as the gender that they identify as mentally improve unbelievably, and it is absolutely true.
So I hate to break it to you. They're more likely to commit suicide. There's a huge community called Transition Regret. I encourage you to look at it. It has 27,000 members on Facebook of people who make the chemical castration decision to transition, and that's an irreversible decision. It's a growing group of people that say, I was sold a complete bill of goods here. And so, that really is the question, which is, if it's irreversible, and you're citing some study that honestly, the data shows exactly the opposite, is that they're more likely to commit suicide, more likely for self-harm, all these sorts of things. What is the proper way to treat it?
As I said, the study has not been disproven. The reason that the suicide rate is so high is because they are bullied for who they are.
See,
I have seen it
this is
in
nonsense.
school, and this is a truth.
And you know why I know it's nonsense? Because every single person in this room disagrees with you fundamentally and is treating you incredibly respectfully tonight. That is a pile of garbage. I know it's a pile of garbage.
Of course.
And so instead, and I'll be honest, it's the people that are in those positions that end up becoming the bullies themselves, that kicked me off of Twitter. That's
true.
No offense, but kind of your team is the one that's super like offended that I used a name that Levine used to have. Like, who's the bully in this situation?
Well, it's disrespectful to do that because she identifies as a woman.
Was
and it
it
is just
not
disrespect.
Levine's
That is
name?
why I can't speak for everyone else. I can only speak for myself at the end of the day. Right? And it's just disrespectful.
True.
And it is not right to call Leah Thomas her dead name out of respect for her.
Levine or whatever. But let me zero in on this, right? So it's a birth name, whatever you could call it, a dead name. It's fine. But if I were to do a biography on Thomas and I would include that name, how is that disrespectful? Isn't that, like, let's take your argument at face value. Wouldn't that be a journey of transition, a courageous movement towards who you really are? Like an uplifting kind of sort of story and saga from the man I used to be and the woman I am now? How's that disrespectful?
Oh, well, in that context, probably. I mean,
So dead naming's now okay. I mean, maybe my tweet was all about the courageous journey of Ricardo Levine that once was named Richard and now name is Rachel. Do you see what's getting here is that you're putting a lot of preference on context and on how I identify and all of this. And your opinions, you can have your opinions. But what we're talking about tonight is how we structure society, right? And that is a totally different thing than your opinion. So when we start to structure society on a vast minority opinion, and we start to use power and force around that vast minority of an opinion, all of a sudden, the only way you can win that argument is the person who wins the oppression Olympics. Is the person who says, I'm the most victimized, therefore I get to create the rules because I'm not comfortable. And here's something that you might not want to hear, is that if you have liberty, by definition, you're not going to be comfortable. You cannot have liberty and comfort. You can't have them together. Instead, you know what? And I think deep down you have this in you. You can get stronger. And I want you to get stronger. Instead of you trying to remove everything that offends you in the world, I want you to dig deeper and be tougher than the people around you. That's what we believe. Final thought.
That's correct.
Final thought. Yeah.
Oh, final thought. Sorry. Trying to think of a final thought. At the end of the day, like, no hate towards you. I respect your opinion. Of course, like, I'm not here to, cause a fight or an intense argument. I'm just saying I disagree. And there is no oppression Olympics. All that, we want is simply just recognition and respect. That's really it.
Well, look,
Truthfully.
Here's the thing, is that that's what you want, and individually, I think I've given that to you, but here's where I draw the line. I'm not going to restructure society on something I know that's not true. I'm not going to turn my back on 50% of the population for something that's not true. And I'm certainly not going to call somebody a pronoun that I know that isn't true in front of me. So I believe your soul totally demands respect. Absolutely, 100%. But as soon as you then start to get into society and civilization and restructure everything around your feelings, then all of a sudden, it's whoever has the loudest voice and who's willing to use power. And that's where we as conservatives draw the line. I want to thank you for being here tonight, truly. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Facts. Charlie is 100% matured. Just like I said, everyone is opinionated. If society is structured on people's opinion, then we won't be going anywhere. I mean, this is even happening in countries where it's legal. They are free to move about as they like. So what's the disrespect they are still facing? What more do they even want? This is why I'm asking myself as I'm watching this video. Because this is evidently in the US. What more do they want? You're free to move about. You're free to mix up with others. You're free to marry. You're not placed on a death row. I mean, you're just free to live your life. But then the truth is few, based on opinion though, based on their opinion, they still won't accept it. But that does not mean that they're disrespecting you. I mean, they have a standard of morality that doesn't agree with yours. And you can't just make them to agree with you all of a sudden. That'll cause a clash. I mean, if the Bible doesn't agree to dragging someone into your own point of view, everyone has witnessed or experienced something at one point or time in their life that makes them who they are, makes them think what they think. And just like I always say, just because you see things from this side and I see things from that side doesn't mean that you're right and I'm wrong. We're just two people who see life a little differently. Now, the context of this argument is transgender men, or let me put it as men who have transitioned to women, should be allowed to play female sports. And Charlie isn't quite down with that because they are still men in the sight of everybody, including God. I mean, God created you a man. And gender dysphoria as a mental condition, as they put it, is not something that should be encouraged. I mean, giving him or her what she wants doesn't mean it's right. As a mental condition, maybe that's what has even pushed them to the extreme. As a mental condition, you're meant to find help for them. You're meant to always be there when they need to talk. You're meant to counsel them and not discriminate or criticize or castigate them, because that's just giving them a reason to run to the parts where they feel like they can be themselves. And he complains that they just want to be comfortable. And he said, in life, you can't have it all. Liberty and comfort, you can't. I mean, you have to lose something to gain something, no matter how insignificant it is. If your presence makes others uncomfortable, then you have to leave. As a human, as a person, would you stay with someone you're uncomfortable with? No one will. No one at all. So you can't encroach in other people's comfort zones because it is yours, and others won't encroach in yours because it is theirs. Let everyone have a mutual understanding and stay on their side of the fence. This whole context, this whole topic is broad. And the arguments that spring out each day are new, fresh, and surprising. And now, in this case, they are discarding chromosomes and hormones and focusing their definition of woman on mentality and identification. I mean, the man typically has an X and X chromosome in his body. He typically still has a testosterone hormone somewhere in his body. And you feel because mentally he thinks that he's meant to be a woman and then moves on to physically attain that makes him a woman. No, he doesn't. He's still a man. He's still a man. And you can't change everything about yourself. So you giving him that, you have giving him more harm than good, actually. Because clearly this guy is effeminate, but he's not a trans. So I wish Charlie had even asked him why he isn't a trans. Let's know what he would say to that. Because clearly, maybe his own standards of morality don't support it. I mean, as a feminist, supporting trans men is somewhat odd. Even supporting a queer man is somewhat odd. What's the basis of the feminism then? Because they are still men. We could go on, and this topic still won't end. But just tell us what you think about this in the comment section, and leave a thumbs up at the end of this video. Thank you all for watching, and stay safe.